This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, along with nobody. And if you're on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, Stitcher, on the website listening audio, you're like, oh, Ricky, it just sounds like you. When's Johnny going to come on? If you're on YouTube, whoa, it's a different setup. I'm kind of like Sean when he did the NBA draft. I am solo for the Rick and Johnny podcast this week. Johnny unable to make it. Tried to get Dave to come in. Dave's still helping his brother with the big move. So Ricky all by himself today. And man, do I have a jam-packed show for you guys. Before I get into that, a little bit of housekeeping. Number one, if you want to join a podcast, you want to help support MVP other than watching and listening to our podcast, make sure to check out patreon.com/most valuable podcast. Number two, make sure to click that link down below. Check out our store, which will bring you to our very own t-shirt. I'm not wearing it today, but we have MVP t-shirts. You can get that down below in our store. You can also find the store on our website, mostvaluablepodcast.com, where you can also catch MVP each and every day. And then last but not least, if you could please go over to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, and then type a little something about why people should check out the podcast and why you love it so much. It would really mean the world to us. But like I said, I got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Going to talk a little bit of Spider-Man. We're going to talk about the DC universe and their streaming system, and also a little bit of updates with Titans that I am excited for. And then we're going to round this thing out, making our sandwich, Marvel, DC, and then we'll go back to Marvel to kind of talk about how the X-Men should be introduced into the MCU, talk about the Disney Comcast little fiasco we almost had, but Disney righted the ship. And with that pretty much going to go through, we'll talk about how the X-Men should be introduced into the MCU. But the first thing we will look at today has got to be Spider-Man. Over last week, it was announced that the new Spider-Man film is going to be Spider-Man Far From Home. And right away, people got to talking. The first thing I thought of was, all right, how could it be Far From Home if the last thing we heard about the second Spider-Man movie, which before this we were just calling Spider-Man Homecoming 2, the only thing we knew coming into this was that, all right, it's going to take place moments after Avengers 4, which of course it has to, because if you haven't seen Infinity War, spoilers for that, but Peter kind of disappeared. So, I mean, of course, to have a Spider-Man, we have to figure out what happens with the Infinity War kind of timeline. And in that second movie, well, fourth Avengers movie, but second in the Infinity War movies. But Far From Home, what it looks like, some people were like, oh, he's outer space. We're going to get the symbiote. That's how they're going to like explain how the symbiote got into Earth. It doesn't look like that. Not so fast. And I got two quick quotes here, both from Kevin Feige, and they both read. The first one was with an interview. Let's see. The interview was with I-90, and here's what he said. Well, when does the movie take place? We know it's the summer. I think it's summer vacation. I think he's going to Europe with his friends. I don't know what summer, ... I mean, I do know. You don't. So that was quote number one. And then quote number two, when ScreenRant.com spoke to Kevin Feige, he said, I don't want to talk too much about it. It's very early days. We're filming soon. We are filming. We will be based in London, as we've done with many of our films for that one. We like that it ties into Homecoming. We like that. We like that the way Homecoming, there are multiple meanings. So kind of the two things is, one, we know it's going to be summer vacation, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be in London, maybe. Like, here's the thing I'm thinking. It's summer vacation. And they've said, like, he dropped London, but, like, is it going to be set in London or will they just be filming in London? If it's Far From Home, it's pretty much safe to say him being in London could be a fair bet because he'd be far from home. And my whole thing with this is, what's the story going to be like then? Because we know for right now, or I should say we think we know, because apparently the details haven't been ironed out, but it has been reported, it has been rumored that Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be Mysterio in this movie. So we've got a villain, and we know that it's going to be summer vacation, and it's probably going to be set in London. So what I'm kind of thinking is, for the story, what does this title tell us about the story? Well, in my mind, it's got to be moments after the Infinity War stuff happens. Like, and that's a big question of, when Peter comes back, is he going to remember? Is he going to remember fading away? Or with the time travel that I think we're going to work with in Avengers 4, is it just going to be like, oh, I don't remember anything that happened. What, I disappeared? That doesn't sound like it rings a bell. So that is still a question that we have. But for me, I think about it, and how do you tie Mysterio into this? Because, and before I say this, like, I know that Marvel kind of does their own thing where they don't take the comics, they don't take the cartoons and say, we got to stay letter to the law. They kind of use it, they have the base for it, and then they adapt something. It's not just a straight carbon copy. But for Mysterio, how are they going to change that to fit this, especially if it's in London? Because the Mysterio, Quentin Beck, is a special effects guy who is trying to make it in Hollywood. So how do you put him in a London? Maybe it's something where he works in Hollywood, they're doing a movie in London, and that's how him and Peter kind of cross paths. There's also a thing that I thought of was, we talked about 2 weeks ago, we talked about the whole casting that they were doing. Could we get Harry Osborn? Will we have a Gwen Stacy? Because there was a female student for that casting call. And part of me is like, oh, are they going to tie in Gwen Stacy somehow? Is this going to be where Harry Osborn, it's like, we don't know Harry yet. Like, we haven't been introduced to Harry, but Peter knows Harry, because when we picked up Homecoming, he's been doing the Spider-Man thing for a while. Like, we didn't pick up right from the beginning. We didn't see Uncle Ben. Thank God. Don't think I can see that a lot of times, because it's like Batman. I know what happens. I know what happens to Spider-Man. I know what happens to Batman. Most people, especially I'd say for Batman, most people, casual even, know Bruce Wayne, his parents died, he became Batman, or at least something along those lines. So for me, what if it's something where we meet Harry Osborn in London, they kind of run into each other, because Harry traveling all over the globe with his dad, with Oscorp Harry's not doing different things, but I mean, Oscorp, he's got to travel with his dad, gets moved from school to school, and he just happens to be in London when Peter comes over, and they kind of run into each other, and we kind of start that little bit of thing. Or, and this is another thing that kind of popped into my noggin a little bit, is, are we just going to leave the Vulture, Scorpion, that whole side of things? Are we just going to leave that? Or is this going to be, because that to me could fit very well, where it's like, all right, we left Homecoming, the Homecoming movie. I almost said Homecoming 1, but that wouldn't make sense. We left the first Homecoming movie with, Vulture finding Scorpion in the prison, saying, hey, I heard you know who Spider-Man is. He goes, I don't know what you're talking about, yada, yada, yada. What if they break out, we start to see the formation of the Sinister Six, and that's how you bring Mysterio into it. Like, they find him in London, boom, he just becomes the third member that we have met. And that to me could work. Hey, I'm far from home, now having to fight these enemies or these villains that I was fighting in New York. And how do I do that in a it's going to be a situation that is not really familiar to Peter Parker. He's not going to have Aunt May right around. What if it's one of those things where the classic Spider-Man of, oh my God, man, Aunt May, what if they get to Aunt May kind of a thing with him being all the way in London? So, I mean, with this one, I'm not quite sure exactly how, they're going to do it, but I'm sure they're going to do a great job with it. One thing I would love to see, and I'll just say this, I know it's not going to happen, and I should stop saying this, but I would love it to happen. So, Far From Home, he's in London. Some way give me Kraven the Hunter. That's all I'm saying. Please, Marvel, some way give me Kraven the Hunter in a Spider-Man movie, and then I would be just happier than a pig in slop. Because think of that. Far From Home, he's got to deal with Kraven the Hunter, basically this guy who's a big game hunter in London, and he's just trying to hunt Spider-Man because that would be the biggest trophy and that would make him the best hunter in all of the world. I would love that. I would give my money to it. I probably wouldn't be able to write the script though because I'm not a big fancy movie producer or movie writer, but I'm trying to think if I'm leaving anything out. Mysterio, they'll probably tie it in to where he's either in London and he's trying to make it over to Hollywood, trying to crack into the film scene, or he's working on a film. Spider-Man does something, or he does something. Spider-Man stops him, and they start that whole kind of rivalry together. I don't think, that's the thing I was thinking. If they didn't give us Mysterio as, the villain, I don't know what villain they would do, because also, I mentioned, here's the one thing I was going to mention when I was getting on the Gwen Stacy. The casting call, is that going to be for a Gwen Stacy, or is that going to be for a different female character? Will we see a Black Cat, a Felicity Harding? Will we see a Silk? Because Sony announced that they were going to do a Silk spin-off movie, which I am excited for because I love Silk and she's one of my favorite Spider-Man characters. Or will it be a Jessica Drew and we see Spider-Woman? So, I mean, it's one of those things where right now, as I sit here today, all I know the title is Far From Home, and I just got questions spinning my noggin. How are they going to get Mysterio into this? And will that even fall through? Because right now, apparently, Jake Gyllenhaal isn't even confirmed. It's just yeah, he's going to be Mysterio, but nothing is set in stone. And will we see other villains? Will they introduce new villains? Are we going to see the Vulture and Scorpion and just add Mysterio? Or are we going to see a different villain? Now, the one thing Tom Holland dropped that I don't know if this is a spoiler or I don't know if this is just Tom Holland being Tom Holland, but he was on a panel with, I believe it was Sebastian, Bucky, and Falcon, Mackie. And it was them three. Holland was sitting next to Mackie. And when someone from the crowd asked, well, what kind of villain would you like to see in a Spider-Man movie? Tom Holland said Venom. I will say right now, I would put money on it that Venom is not going to be in Far From Home. And that's even with the people who are ooh, Far From Home, he's going to bring back the symbiote in some way. I don't think we see the symbiote in the Marvel Universe or the MCU just yet. I'm not saying it'll never happen because, of course, anything that makes the moolah, Sony will be yeah, sure. If you want to fit that into a movie, you can go ahead and do that. And I mean, with the X-Men maybe coming over, I'll get to that later in the podcast. But I just don't think right now is the time that they put the symbiote into this movie. I don't think they bring Venom over to Spider-Man. There's a reason why they have Venom all the way across the United States and they have him in San Francisco while Spider-Man is in New York, and for this one, while he is in London. So for me, I don't think we see the symbiote in Far From Home. I don't even think we see it mentioned. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, where they're not really going to do that. But hey, never say never. It could get put into a movie whenever they feel like, yeah, you know what? It kind of fits in, because we got to see with the new Guardians movie as well, Guardians 3 that they're writing. Will it be the same exact cast? Will we see a switch up in the Guardians roster, either in the beginning or probably the end of that movie? Also, Adam Warlock, what are we going to see from him? So this is where I'm going to turn the question on to you guys. Let me know what you guys think. What's kind of circling in your head when it comes to the story of Far From Home? After you saw, it's going to be Spider-Man Far From Home, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? Oh, this is what they're going to do with Mysterio. This is what they're going to do with the villains. This is what they're going to do with Peter Parker. Let me know what you guys think down below in that comment section. But let's move on into our next topic. And what we're looking at now is on the DC side of things. It was announced this week. Well, actually, it was revealed what the DC streaming service is going to kind of look like. DC came out with their first trailer for their online streaming service that they plan to, from what I hear, it's going to go into beta in August, and I believe release around September. So what do you get from this? So in the trailer, down below in the description, you can go and check it out. What you get is their animated movie catalog. You're going to get the entire Bat catalog. So that means you'll get the entire Batman, the animated series, right there. I'm in, take my money. You get the entire Batman Beyond catalog, which there should be more of that, let's be honest. Again, take my money. And you get the entire collection of the Batman movies. So the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, they've shown Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. So we know then that you're going to get the Tim Burton Batman movie. You're going to get the Jim Carrey Batman movie, because we saw him as the Riddler in this. You're going to get the Superman movies. You're going to get, like I said, the entire animated catalog, not just those from the Batman series, but like Justice League Unlimited. You're going to get all of the animated movies they did, like Doom and War and Flashpoint. But then on top of that, you get all the new series that they're going to come up with. So Titans, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. They're going to have Young Justice, which I guess that'll fall under the animated, although it is new. So you'll get, it looks like Titan's going to be the first thing that they do release. That'll release this fall. And then February of next year, 2019, I believe, is when the Young Justice Outsiders, the next season of Young Justice, is going to come out. So not too far off from that rumor that we heard a while ago that Young Justice would release in the fourth quarter of 2018, which would be the last, 4 months, 3 months? I think it would be 3 months. Yeah, the last 3 months of 2018. Just had to do some simple math in my head. So, I mean, with all that, by the way, Titans, they're going to do a Swamp Thing TV series. They're going to do a Doom Patrol TV series. That'll have Cyborg in it. We'll see if he crosses his way over into Titans Season 2, Season 3. And then they're also going to have a Harley Quinn series as well that they are developing. So for me, the question is, should we be pumped about this? Like, should we? I don't want to say should we even care, but I kind of feel like that could be an apt description because of how many streaming services, A, we already have, and B, we're going to have. Because, like, right now, you've got Netflix, you've got Hulu, you've got Amazon, you've got HBO Go, you've got the Showtime, well, all the premium channels basically that you would get from cable. But if you don't have cable, you can get like the HBO Go and all that. So if you want to watch Game of Thrones, I need to get HBO Go. Oh, well, I want to watch the Marvel movies right now. I got to have Netflix. I want to watch The Tick. I got to have Amazon. And this feels like another one that's being added on to it. I mean, not just that, Disney is coming up with their own, which I'll be honest, I will have to buy because I love the Disney catalog. Not only do I love the Disney animated movies from my childhood, but they're going to have the entire Star Wars catalog on there. They're going to have the entire Marvel catalog on there, on top of probably all the cartoon series that you get as well. And then with them buying Fox, you're going to have all the Fox properties that they are going to get from TVs and movies. So, I mean, there's a big thing for that one, which is why that one I'm really excited for. But DC, I'm excited for it. But I feel like the only reason I'm excited and I'm pumped is because I'm a DC super fan. Like I said, all they had to say was back catalog. And I said, here's my money. Just take it. Well, how much does it cost? I don't care. Just take it. Like, that is how much. I am going to get this, and I am probably just going to have it circle Batman the Animated Series episodes on loop. And then, here's how I'll have it. Get through the entire animated series, Batman Beyond, and then start from the beginning. And then just loop those back to back to back. Because to me, I can just watch that all day with an occasional here's the Jim Carrey Riddler Batman. Here's one of the Christopher Nolan Batmans mixed in here and there. For me, it's going to be great. And there's also two things I did not mention with this as well. First off, there are comics as well. Now, for me, this is the thing I am most skeptical when it comes to this DC streaming service, because at first I was all in. I was like, cool. Mark and I are going to have this. We're going to get it for a graphic conversation so that we can have our DC comics. We'll just have to pay the monthly thing. And basically we can have these comics instead of buying each one over and over. So kind of to save us money here for MVP. But then after I watched the trailer, did a little research, kind of saw what other people were saying. And from what it seems like is they're going to have a limited selection at first and then kind of add to it over time. So for me, the comic thing, it wasn't the thing that was pulling me into it. Let's be honest, the entire animated catalog, the Batman catalog, that is my meat and potatoes. That is what I am really excited for to be able to watch again with this streaming service. The comics were just a little cherry on the top, if you were to say that. And with this, if I'm able to, if they have comics from DC that are not because let's be honest, I'm going to want to read my favorites. I'm going to want to read my favorites. I might read some of the new ones here and there. But is it going to feel like, oh, it's an addition? Because let's be honest, if it's not something you expect and then you start to use, is it going to be like, wow, this is just more bang for my buck? Or is it just going to feel like, yeah, I've got it. Not really yeah, I'm paying for it, but I don't use it. So, I mean, am I really paying for it? I'm really paying for just the TV shows and stuff. So that is something that I am interested to see with the streaming service. And then the last thing they kind of threw in there was, I guess they'll have a community section as well. They showed a lot of people cosplaying in the trailer. So it just looks like a tab where I think their goal is not just to, hey, I'm going to have this streaming service and watch the streaming service, but also there's a community tab so that I can meet like-minded people that enjoy the DC universe just as much as I do. Well, to be honest, am I going to probably use that tab? Probably not, but it's not a bad thing to have, especially for that subgroup of people. Like I know Johnny's a huge cosplayer, and that could be a way for a DC fan. Hey, I went to a convention dressed like this, to share it, get some love from other people in the DC universe, and kind of build those friendships on the message boards or forums or however they're going to have it, however they have it set up. So the streaming service I am pumped for. Overall, I feel like, is it enough to get the casual DC fan pumped for? Or is it something where I don't really care about the Batman catalog? The animated movies are fine. Comics are fine. I don't need to buy it. So I wonder how well it's going to do. Hardcore DC fans like myself, I'm sure are going to buy it and I'm sure are going to have it. If you are excited about Titans, if you're excited to see Young Justice again, it's the only way you're going to be able to see it. So, I mean, just paying for it and getting it is going to be from them for sure. But it's the DC fans that are like, I wasn't really into Young Justice, but I could do that. Or is it going to be a little bit of streaming service fatigue, as I will call it? And then people will go, not another streaming service. Because let's be honest. And I mean, this is kind of this brings Disney into it as well. On Netflix, you had at the beginning, the Justice League Unlimited was on there. The Justice League movies were on there. You also had the Disney movies were there. All the Disney properties, Marvel properties are still there. Once these two streaming services come out, for example, Marvel, Disney, why would I have my Marvel movies on Netflix? I'll just have them on mine. So, I mean, that we're going to see. So I wonder how many people, I know people don't just buy Netflix for that, but I mean, how much will people really go, oh man, I had them all on one thing. Now I got to pay more money just to get them. And then they go, screw it. It's not that important. I wonder how this is all going to play out. This is a greater thing. This is not just the DC Universe streaming system, but this is the Disney having theirs and the more streaming services that we get. How are people going to react? And eventually, will it just be streaming service fatigue? Because we're going to have all these, and in order to get everything you want, you're going to have to kind of pay $10 here, $10 here. And eventually, is it going to be like, it's not effing worth it. I just got to pick one and stick to it. So the last thing I wanted to talk about before we get into our last topic of the podcast is a little bit about Titans. There's an article down below in the description that I will include where they have come out with the look that we are going to get for Robin. It looks amazing. The black Robin mask. So you're kind of getting that, it almost looks Nightwing-esque too. I guess they're kind of the same. Well, maybe blue, black, but it looks like a traditional, kind of looks like the new 52 Rebirth costume, I believe. However, it looks like the Robin costume to me, and it just looks badass. It's got the battle armor. You got the R here in the corner, the green sleeves, the black and yellow cape. And the thing that I'm interested to see, this kind of changes a discussion that Johnny and I had about 2 or 3 weeks ago when we talked about Jason Todd. So it looks like in the beginning of Titans, they are going to go ahead and kind of start Robin or Dick Grayson off as Robin and kind of show that transfer of how it's going to be transitioning from Robin into becoming Nightwing. Well, and really, it's that too. Here's the thing I'm thinking about. How are they going to do this? Because, of course, Robin becomes Nightwing, but are they going to have it where Robin comes over, breaks off from Batman, still stays Robin, and is Robin in the Titans? Or is he going to be Nightwing, and then when the Titans form, it's not Robin as the leader, it is Nightwing as the leader? I think it's going to be the second one, because there's a lot of working parts that are going into this. This season is supposed to be a full long season to get used to Raven and her origin story and how Trigon fits into this, because we're going to get Trigon at the end of it and mention a little bit in this series. Another thing I love that they released is they said it's going to be a mature series, which to me, thumbs up for you. I love it, because I get the point of it's Teen Titans. So, I mean, of course, my kids watch the cartoon Teen Titans Go. They'll watch this not so fast. This is going to be a mature series. And I personally like that, because it gives my age group, I'm about 28, I'm almost hitting 30. It gives my age group that kind of, the older we get, we want to see a mature series of our heroes. So I really like that. I really like the Robin suit. I can't wait. I cannot wait for Titans to come out. And I wonder how it's going to be. I hope it's good, because if it's not good, it's just like, that's why, to me, Titans needs to hit. This needs to hit, and it needs to be good, because if it's not good, well, then, I mean, you look at it and it's like, well, we got Swamp Thing, they got Harley Quinn, they're going to have Doom Patrol. Part of me wants it, like, how do I say this? Not that part of me wants it to be good. All of me wants it to be good, but there's part of me that's a little bit of a fear, like, are we doing the traditional DC thing of like, here's this, we're going to do this movie, that movie, this movie, that movie, and this one sucked. Great. Now we have to rethink everything. I hope that's not the case with this one, because I want Titans to be good right off the bat. Get us excited for Swamp Thing. Get us excited for Doom Patrol. Get us excited for Harley Quinn as well. I don't want this to be a dud, and then people go, well, I'm not buying this service anymore. Swamp Thing then is kind of like, then it's like, oh, Swamp Thing doesn't get viewed, Doom Patrol doesn't get viewed, and then they start saying, well, why are we spending money on this if no one's watching them? So for me, I want this to be a hit, and I don't want it to be kind of, I don't want it to fail, is basically what I'm trying to say. Also, another question that I've seen, which I don't have the answer to, but I will ask it as well, is will the Arrowverse and the Flash TV series also be coming to this like it is on Netflix, or will they keep that on Netflix and have this be its own thing? I wonder if that'll happen. However, I don't see why it wouldn't, because it is DC properties, and, you know, anything to get people who enjoy the Flash, enjoy Arrow, enjoy that universe, Legends of Tomorrow as well, anything to get that kind of over onto your service would only be the better. But this is where you guys come in. Let me know what you think down below in that comment section. Are you excited for the DC streaming service? Do you think it is going to be worth the money? And also, are you excited about Titans? And what do you think about Robin's new look? Let me know down below in that comment section. All right, let's close the podcast taking a look back at the Marvel side of things with the X-Men. Snick. And we're looking at, I couldn't see this. It was covered by the microphone, but they're there. They're just imaginary claws for our audio listeners. Just throwing out the imaginary Wolverine claws. But what I want to look at is kind of with the Disney Fox deal, with that now being secured, because for everything that was going on, I was confused about it. I know you guys probably were too. It looks like Comcast came in with an offer, basically the dump truck full of money, and just said, here you go. Here's more money than Disney's offering you. We want Fox. Disney then came back with about a $70 to $71 million offer, and that was just with the same stock shares that they had in there, just more money on top of it. It looks like Fox is now going to be sold to Disney, and the bad thing of it is Comcast didn't even want the X-Men or anything. They just wanted some like broadcasting company in the UK. That's all they cared about, which for me, I'm like, what? Really? That's why you were trying to disrupt my X-Men coming to the MCU? But Disney will get them. They're going to get their IPs. So the X-Men and the Fox properties could be coming to the MCU sooner than you may think. However, what it looks like is that it's not going to happen until after the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie, Guardians 3 basically, is when we could start seeing X-Men movies in the MCU. So the timeline as of right now, this week, as you guys are watching this, probably a day away from Ant-Man and the Wasp. That is the next movie to come out, Ant-Man and the Wasp, if I can enunciate that correctly. Then in March of next year, 2019, we'll have Captain Marvel. Then May, maybe April, if they move it up again, we'll get the next Avengers film. That's going to be 2019. Then that July is going to be that Spider-Man Far From Home movie. And then sometime in 2020, we will have Guardians of the Galaxy volume trace. And I know that they've said that we're not going to get X-Men until after Guardians 3. I know that James Gunn was asked about it, and he said, I'm way too far into the process to change things like that. We're going to get that. Like, there's no way Fox sells Disney these products and we don't see something. We've got to see something. So for me, I'm just going to kind of talk to you guys about some things that are circling in my head for how they can introduce these. And my big thing is, I know what movie I want to target. There's just different cutscenes that you could do. So the movie I would target is Avengers Infinity War. Well, Infinity War 2 and Endgame, whatever it's called. Avengers 4, that's what I target. After Thanos is defeated, yay, the Avengers win. Depending on if anyone dies too. Like, I just thought about that. If like Tony dies, you know what? Even if Tony dies or Cap dies, you could still do it. But like the classic one, and this was even in the comment section for one of our movies as well, is that you have your Charles Xavier be your moving off, your jumping off point. And we actually got a comment about this when Johnny and I did our Avengers 4 theory about Professor Hulk. This comes from Demon King, my boy. And he is talking about, this is what he said. He said, my thoughts on Avengers moving forward. Wow. Let me start by saying that Comcast isn't outbidding Disney. They did not. You are correct. They aren't going to spend $72 billion on this. So Disney has Fox in the bag, and the deal will be done before the next Avengers film. It could be. Like, many people are saying that, you know what, it's going to be done July of 2019, which would be after. But now I'm hearing it could be done before that, sooner than a lot of people think. So that might be right also. He then goes on to say, and for the next Avengers film, the after credit scene, well, one of them, will be the man known as Charles Xavier in the final post-credit scene. Hopefully Patrick Stewart, but it won't, sadly. Yeah, it's not going to be Patrick Stewart because he said after Logan, bye, I'm done, I'm walking out on this. That's how good it was. And that was my first thought too, is you rope it in that way, where basically with all the time travel that we see, maybe, boom, this happens. Or you just introduce, hey, we've been here, you just haven't noticed us in some way. Really short scene, a Charles Xavier kind of nod, where they just say Charles and you see the bald head or something, like something really small. Here's another thing, though, that I thought about that they could do too, is, and with these two is, oh, well, what if you don't have the actor picked out? Well, for Charles Xavier, just show a bald head from behind. Doesn't matter who it is at that point, just the bald head from behind. We know who it is, and then that leaves you to where, okay, we could cast him at a later date. The other one I'm thinking is involving Magneto, because what if, oh, and this could be great, because to this point, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, we haven't been able to use the word mutants. We've been using the word, oh, they're miracles. They're little miracles. No, they're mutants. We know they're mutants. We just couldn't use it because of rights and who owns those rights. But now that Fox is selling these rights to Disney, what if it's a post-credit scene after Avengers basically revealing to Scarlet Witch that you are a mutant? You are a mutant, revealing that she's a mutant, revealing that she is Magneto. Well, do you reveal? Yeah. You reveal that she is Magneto's daughter, because he would basically be telling her that she's a mutant. And then you have, boom, that kind of a shock. I don't think they go that route, because that would be more of like, all right, we just did a next Avengers movie and we want to set up a House of M movie. So if they do that House of M Scarlet Witch movie, then I could see them doing that. I don't see them touching Wolverine, like no after credit scene with a Wolverine, because how, like, Johnny and I have talked about that mainly when it was Fox, is when's going to be the right time to recast for Hugh Jackman? I don't know if you're there yet. So, I mean, for me, I think it comes after. Like, I don't think we wait until the end of Guardians to get the X-Men. I'm saying it's an after credit scene after Avengers 4, because why not? At that point, you've already, like, because I'm trying to think too. Like, the reason why I'm saying after credit scene is they're so easy to splice in there. Like, you could be done with filming. We want to add this after credit scene. You can go ahead and do that. And this is something where maybe the Scarlet Witch one they don't do, because then they got to get Elizabeth Olsen in, and that's more work. I think they do. Like, I would introduce them at the end of the Avengers 4 movie, because, like, I feel like if I want an introduction, there's 3 routes I have. Introduce Charles Xavier, so it's like, boom, the X-Men are here. And then you just say, instead of like Doctor Strange will return, Thor will return, you just do X-Men are coming, where it's an after credit scene. Boom, you reveal Charles Xavier. It fades to black, and you just see the font in the middle of the screen that say X-Men. The X-Men are coming. Hype everyone up. Just get them jumping out of their seats. The Magneto thing I think would be cool. It's like, okay, we can finally use mutants in the MCU, but I don't think it'll have the same hit as Charles Xavier. The last one I'm thinking is if they go with that, because we're also supposed to get an Eternals movie too. And I think in Avengers 4, they're going to kind of hint at that Eternals movie, but what if after Guardians of the Galaxy, they make a reference to Galactus or MODOK or kind of the next big threat that is out there, or they make some reference. Like, to me, if you're going to wait until after Guardians, it's because you're introducing a Galactus, you're introducing a MODOK. Like, that is your MO. Like, you are introducing the next big baddie that you are going to do. However, I don't see them doing another Thanos thing. Like, this was special, having all these movies kind of line up and going right into Thanos. So I don't know if they do it the same exact way that they did. I think that Avengers 4 is the target point. That's what you target, and you just do that. Like, Charles Xavier seems like the best one. You could do one with Magneto. I mean, you could even do one where it's, now I'm trying to think. Like, do you do a Jean or a Scott one? Not necessarily. Like, I keep coming back to the same thing Demon King was saying. Just have it be Charles Xavier, have it be after the Avengers 4 movie, and then there you go. Then you don't have to do it until after Guardians, because you have your next 2 movies planned out. Here's the other thing, and this is kind of off the Marvel X-Men a little bit and on Fox X-Men. I get that you want to make the money from the films, but at this point, why put out the Dark Phoenix saga and the New Mutants movie? Like, why? Why do that? Because to me, with those two, and this kind of brings back Disney into it, they're going to get recast. Like, Disney is going to recast these movies. So for me, I get the point, and people in the comment section, I get the point when you say, well, they want to make money. They spent money on this movie. They want to get some return for it, not just burn the money. I get that. But part of me is like, as a moviegoer, why should I be excited for a Fox movie that has not been on the same level as a MCU movie when I know the X-Men are going to MCU? So that was just something that was sitting a little bit inside of me, and I just had to let that out. But that's what I'm thinking. I know that I talked about it a little bit, like bounced off the wall, didn't give a concrete one. I don't think that they do a Wolverine post-credit. I don't think they do any of the other Avengers. Magneto would be cool. They could show like a Galactus and what we could see from a greater threat after the Guardians movie. But the one I think you go with, Charles Xavier after the Avengers film, throw it out there, put it on the screen, the X-Men are coming. And that's all you need to do. That is all you need to do. And then you let Deadpool kind of be over here, let him do his own thing, and you can worry about throwing him in at a later date. So this is where you guys come in. Let me know what you think down below in that comment section. This is where the creativity flows. I want to hear your post-credit. So kind of a little homework assignment for you. I want you to create a post-credit after whatever Marvel movie you think. So it could be after Guardians, it could be after Avengers. How would you introduce the X-Men into the MCU? Give me some in-depth post-credit scenes. Maybe Johnny and I will read some really good ones on future podcasts. But thank you guys for checking out this solo edition of the Rick and Johnny podcast. Johnny will be back with me next week. We will have our review for Ant-Man and the Wasp as well. Little housekeeping here to close things up. Patreon.com. That link is down below in the description if you want to help support MVP more so than you guys do each and every day. Also, go check out our store if you want to get your hands on a MVP t-shirt. You can also check out the store and all of our content on mostavailablepodcasts.com. And then last but not least, please go into iTunes, give the Rick and Johnny podcast a 5-star rating, and then type a little something about why everyone else should listen to the podcast. I want to thank you guys for checking out on audio. I want to thank you guys for watching this solo edition. And as always, have a good day, everybody.